You know, we've really seen the emotional progression of Michael Dunn here over the last 90 minutes. When he first hit the stand, he was very emotional, talking about his fiance, talking about his dog. He was a bit more reserved when talking about the actual shooting and the death of Jordan Davis. Then now that we've got him on cross-examination, as the state is up asking him, we're seeing a more defiant and, I dare say, a little bit more aggressive Michael Dunn, looking him right in the eye. What do you take from that?
Well, as a defense attorney, you don't want to become combative with the prosecutor. The effort on the behalf of the prosecutor is to show that Michael Dunn's initial presentation, that of being reserved and comfortable with himself and his behavior, is not really accurate. So you want him to respond. You want him to get volatile if he does. And that's one of the reasons they dovetailed immediately from the direct examination into the cross-examination. You want the witness to remain under stress so that you can get him to act out as he truly is, not in some fabricated, prearranged, choreographed response to the questions by the defense.
What were your impressions when Michael Dunn looked right at the prosecutor and said twice, "You weren't there"? You weren't there, when it seemed like they were trying to get at the fact that he never told his fiance there was a gun, according to her. Now, he adamantly denies that.
Again, there are other ways for your witness to handle that. You can handle it on redirect. There are other ways. You should never become combative with the prosecutor's office. It just cannot benefit you in the long term.
Let's talk to folks at home about what's happening right now. Now, there's this sidebar going on. It seems like they're trying to poke hole in Dunn's story and even show that he might be not truthful right now.
Well, this all has to do with the scope of the direct examination. The scope of the direct examination by Michael Dunn's attorney was very narrow. The state wants to get outside that, and that's the question about the type of music that was being played. Is it being mischaracterized as something that is gangsterish? And if so, if Dunn's response to that during direct examination, which, by the way, it was not, then, and he responded in that way, then the state could come in and ask specific questions about that. And really, that's where this is headed. Now, whether or not the judge permits it, that's another matter, and that's why they're at sidebar, not talking about this where we can hear.
Now, is this something along the lines of where we might be looking at the state trying to possibly impeach Michael Dunn as a witness? They brought in these letters to show he wrote one thing after the fact, and now he's saying something else.
That's exactly right. This is what's known as a party opponent admission. He is the defense here. He has written a letter that may absolutely not be consistent with what he said to the police or with what he said on the stand today. And if the prosecutor's office can show that there's a disconnect between those statements, then they are attacking his credibility. If he has no credibility, then the idea that he somehow protected himself and acted reasonably in responding with a firearm just goes out the window.
And we could also maybe see his statement to police, because he even brought that up himself on the stand, calling out the prosecutor saying, "You didn't show that." And they said, "Mr. Dunn, there's still a lot of time left." So there could be other evidence entered in still as the day goes on.
Right. It could be used in rebuttal to show if he can demonstrate that there are differences, substantial, substantive differences, it could well be played.
Let's talk about the state. What are they wanting to show right now to the jury? And let's also talk about Michael Dunn's credibility.
Well, his credibility, when he says statements, as he did on direct, that he didn't do anything wrong, even in the face of the fact that...
All right, I believe we're back here live. Let's listen to Michael Dunn.
After, if you can call it a night's sleep in the jail, I did have an interview with my attorney.
Well, let me ask you.
And all this... You know, instead of being interrogated, I was actually interviewed, and this extra detail came out.
Interrogated? Did they threaten you? Did the police threaten you?
Well, you know, it was combative, so that wasn't an interview, sir. It was an interrogation.
Did they promise you anything? Like to get you to answer a certain way?
Nope.
Did they threaten you physically?
Nope.
Did they threaten you verbally?
They were combative.
Did they tell you you don't have to make a statement, right?
Sure.
And you did.
But they were argumentative.